and welcome to Spotlight on Downtown. My name is Cinda Morse. I'm the Executive Director of the Better Bennington Corporation, and I'll be your host for today's show. Today we're going to be talking about our downtown planting program, which now has a new name, Bennington in Bloom. And with me in the studio today to talk about planting and gardening downtown are Lynn Boodle, who's the owner of South Street Cafe, Sue Condon, who's the owner of Star Electric, and Clover Sweet, who's the owner of Marty Moore Greenhouses and gardener extraordinaire. Welcome, all of you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Want to give just a little bit of background, and maybe Sue, you could talk a little bit about where our planting program started years ago, and maybe what we should define is even what we plant, what we're responsible for downtown.
Well, we started a long time ago with the planters, and we worked with a garden club, and we also worked with some of the high school kids that came along and planted. Probably 5 to 8 years ago, we started with this and found that we've been growing ever since with learning experience.
That was an all-volunteer effort with the garden club,
yeah.
and I know the 6th graders from Bennington Elementary School used to help the garden club.
Exactly.
Folks. Your mom used to be out there.
Yeah, and they also used to come down and prune the trees and maintain some of the trees. One of our biggest problems we found was that the maintenance of the flowers was very poorly done. It was just never, if the flowers got ripped up or thrown away, they got ripped up and thrown away, and we just didn't have enough effort to go and replant. And also the watering got done sporadically so that they didn't hold up as well. So over the years we have grown and expanded.
I recall when I first came to the Better Bennington Corporation, fielding complaint phone calls when we had dead plants on the street was one of my least favorite activities over the summertime.
But they're starting to really look good now, and I'm just really pleased how much has expanded, and the street is finally done, so we have some extra planters.
And one of the reasons things look so much better is about 3 years ago, the Better Bennington Corporation's design committee decided that enough complaints, we needed to deal with this differently, and we were lucky enough to hire Clover to help us with designing what it was we were going to do, and in particular with the maintenance. And Clover is down here at least 3 times a week. I think he's down here every day, actually.
Sometimes checking it when I feel that it needs it. I jumped in a few years ago when I thought that maybe I should, because things were not looking the way they should for the town of Bennington. And my offer for taking care of them was accepted, and I try to make them look nice.
Well, I think, and you do, and I think certainly in the last 3 years that we have had regular maintenance of the plants. What we hear much more of is how nice things look downtown. And there has, in fact, been a considerable amount of interest on the part of the private sector in using some of those planters that Kathy Mack's dad has made on the street and planting those. So in addition to our concrete planters and the 2 planting beds at the four corners, a lot of the individual merchants have taken to hanging baskets and the planting boxes on the street. We have sort of decided that even that wasn't enough. I think a good bit of that came from having Lynn Boodle join the design committee, and those folks from England have some wild ideas. And she brought a really terrific idea from England. Maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about the history there. I have visited in the summertime in Britain, and it really is pretty spectacular. So tell us a little bit about Britain in Bloom.
Britain has a program called Britain in Bloom. I actually think they stole it from the French prior to that. But this was brought from the group originally that was known as Keep Britain Tidy, I think. It evolved out of their need to have tidy, nice-looking spaces in Britain. and it evolved into a competition countrywide, where towns pitched against towns, villages against villages, for the competition and the very prestigious awards that Bennington and Bloom give the towns.
Britain in Bloom.
Oh, yes, yes. See, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm excited about it. Britain in Bloom. So that is where the Bennington and Bloom idea came from, Britain in Bloom. And I was able to talk to the people in England about Britain in Bloom, and they very kindly sent me a book that has illustrations of some of the floral displays in Britain. And this has been a valuable tool in us moving our planting in Bennington from just the regular planting of previous years to our idea of Bennington in Bloom. Would you like me to show you some of the pictures in here?
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons that this is as exciting to all of us as it is, and I think some of the photographs you'll show in there demonstrate that, is that doing the streetscape work that you referenced, Sue, has meant that we have laid the groundwork, if you will, for planting. That level of amenity on the street is much greater now than it was, say, 10 years ago.
Oh,
downtown.
for sure. There was none 10 years ago.
So having our new lights and having
Yes.
the actual concrete planters on the street and our standing, I don't know what to call them, moving planters as opposed to the beds.
Physical enhancements have proved a better backdrop
Yes.
for what we see
Right.
as the floral part of this.
Show us
Some of the pictures in
yeah.
here.
In particular, that one that had the logo one that was in
Oh
there.
yeah, we love this one. This is they will often do this in England. Create a logo for an association from floral designs. This how we have this vision one day perhaps to be able to create the Bennington logo,
Right.
the town logo,
Right.
maybe in a place, in a public place related to the town, maybe
Blues
some
and
of the
whites and
town
greens,
office.
clever.
Yeah. So this is a really neat idea. We'd love to see that.
That
one
would look
day.
great on the town lawn.
Yes, or in front of the court office,
Yes.
court, the Superior Court,
Yep.
maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we have here. Here's an illustration right here of
Oh, there's your buckets.
of urban plantings in a little downtown environment with pots, many pots. I guess that's in a brick wall. This I love it too. This is showing a basement somewhere enhanced with flowers.
You always think about this when
The
for
corner,
Putnam Square,
yeah, the
'cause
corner,
there's a lower
corner
level
store would look
space right at
delightful
Putnam
with
Square.
something like that. Yeah.
Now, this also, I mean, it really shows the role of the street enhancements in that overall design
You know,
piece, having the lights and the
and the
nicely done
seats and so
sidewalks.
forth. Yeah. And let's see here. You can help me here, and we'll keep this propped up. Again, now this is the use of planting beds in the urban downtown.
Looks like it might be marigolds in there too.
Yep.
Clover's always
Well,
lobbying.
And
There's
dusty
marigolds.
millers, dusty millers and marigolds
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
kind of begonia by the look of it.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the issues we have in our particular downtown is one side of the street is really sunny,
Yeah.
and the other side of the street
Right.
is shady
Yeah.
a good part of the day. So that can be a challenge when
Yeah.
you're trying to do continuity.
Oh, look at the hanging baskets.
Look at the hanging baskets,
Yeah.
aren't they beautiful? Petunias in hanging baskets against a stone building. Yeah. And of course, England's a little bit more, lucky in their temperature, a more
Yeah.
modest temperature and a longer growing period,
Yeah.
of course. Let's try another one. Let's hope these work for the camera. Here's a selection of
Here, tip forward.
Yeah.
You had,
this
this was
is-
that kind of
I
balcony.
have this vision for over the top of Chittenden Bank,
Isn't that
looking
yeah.
like that. Maybe one day.
So you can see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And again,
on
the
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 top.
lampposts and the planters.
Yeah.
And Also, there's lots of illustrations. We will go through this book, but I'm very aware also that downtown is a living place for a lot of people. People make their
Right.
homes there, and so not only do we have the element of the public piece that we work with, as we're calling it Bennington in Bloom, there are people whose homes are downtown that can be make downtown enhanced by using flowers in their own living space or gardens, and again, our own businesses downtown can be part of that.
Well, and I think you raise a really important point. In terms of the Better Bennington Corporation, our focus is really on the public sector planting pieces that we're responsible for. But we really hope that by doing this show and by having things in our newsletter, the Four Corners Forum, and doing some press releases, that the private sector, both business and residential, and not just in downtown, but throughout the whole
Yes.
community, will begin to think that Bennington in Bloom is a really wonderful idea and want to be part of making this just a really spectacular place to come and visit in the summertime to see flowers. I think, Sue, I'm going to ask you to maybe talk just a little bit, describe what are the additions
Okay.
that we've put in Bennington and Bloom. And I don't know if you want to hold up that.
Well,
this
our ultimate would be to have flowers on every lamppost on
hanging baskets.
hanging baskets on the right and the left hand side, which would be our ultimate goal someday. At this point, financially we can't afford it, but we're going to work on it a little bit at a time. So we're going to try some at the Four Corners and at certain the bulb outs and also the planting beds. Now we have a couple more planting beds in front of the bookshop and in front of Janellis's restaurant, and we're hoping to get more in the beds, and that'll also enhance the flowers. As you're coming downtown, you're really going to start to see more and more in the public sector of flowers that are really enhancing. So that would be our absolute fantastic goal, would be to do every pole. But at this point, we're going to try a few poles and see how it looks, and we're going to take baby steps. But we're so excited about this, and I think Clover's it's going to really look great. And that we're just, like, oh, it's working.
Well, exactly, and I think one of the other things that this illustrates is trying to make a larger impact by concentrating what we're doing in locations. We have in the past had our concrete planters spread all throughout downtown, one at a time. And what we're going to be doing this summer is clustering those together along Main Street and at the Four Corners area. So there'll be 7 larger clusters of concrete planters, supplemented by the planting beds that you mentioned and the hanging baskets.
And I think everybody saw how wonderful it looked downtown at Christmas. That added impact on every light post certainly made people aware of the Christmas decorations. And just like that increased the impact in the winter around the Christmas time. I think the ultimate goal of having flowers on every lamppost downtown, it will make the same impact that we got at Christmas time.
I'm going to ask Clover to talk a little bit about what you're actually going to be planting this summer.
Well, in the concrete planters, we're going to be using a very prolific flowering hot pink geranium. It's very pink. It's really rosy
Yes, I've seen
red.
It's beautiful.
And the amount of flowers that the geranium puts out is kind of spectacular. It's a new strain that came out about 3 years ago, and I've been pretty sold on it. And with that as a center focal point, and the Plectranthus, which is that green and white vine that just goes crazy, coming over the edge of the pot with super petunias, to a few of them, not a lot, because after a rain, there's a lot of work keeping them
Yeah.
looking good, but a few of those. And there's another little plant called Million Bells, which puts out a lot of color, which will be
That's
very
another
pretty.
petunia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to
Smaller.
try to make the baskets coordinate the colors so that, and the plants, so the baskets and the urns will harmonize, and we hope will be spectacular. We're going to work at it.
We know they're going to
Yeah.
be spectacular, Clover. Process-wise, Lynn, you want to talk a little bit about the process we've gone through to get here and to have selected Clover to do the work this summer? Because we did change that a little this year.
This year we got a little bit more formalized, I guess you'd say, and asked for bids.
Actually, we did that
locally.
3 years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but we
Right.
we extended the bidding.
Yes,
thing.
and part of that is in consultation with the town as to what an appropriate bid period is based on the amount of money that we spent, and
Yeah.
they felt that 3 years was fine. So
Yeah. So we asked for bids for some local businesses. We had 3 bids back,
Yep.
and very, very good bids at that. It was a very difficult process to come through for the design committee of the BBC to choose
but fun.
the best bid. Yeah, it was fun. It was very enlightening. It was very educational from my
Yeah.
point of view to see the logic behind a lot of the bids. And Clover this year again got the bid. You know, he made the best presentation, I guess, to us. Although the others were really good too. It was really hard. Yeah, and so we look forward again with working with Clover.
There is certainly a role downtown and in Bennington and Bloom for the private sector. And actually, all 3 of you are probably as much involved in the private sector activity, because you guys both have hanging baskets and you have planters. And actually, Clover, I think, plants all of those.
Yeah, the
so-
stores. yeah.
You had talked quite a bit in our last newsletter about the importance of flowers. You felt that was a really important for your shop and a marketing tool. Could you
I did,
talk
yes.
a little bit about that?
Personally, I love flowers. They don't seem to love me sometimes, but I love them. That's why I get Clover helping me to keep them alive. And I have realized the value of the effect that flowers has visually on an establishment such as mine. It may not be as important for some others, but I think all businesses that depend on foot traffic through the front door are helped immeasurably by the use of flowers in the summer. I guess, well, first of all, it's just great to look at. Nobody can say that flowers don't look good and give you a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling when you see well-maintained, pretty flowers. But also, I think it shows that you care. If you seem to care outside, and you have to care with flowers because they're so, sensitive, then it's sort of a measure of that you care inside your business too.
It's an invitation to come inside, and I think that's one of the things. Even for the years I've been in business, one of the things they talk about is if the street is swept and clean and it's pleasant to look at, you're more apt to want to walk in the door.
Yeah.
It just gives, and flowers give you that warm feeling of, let's go inside.
And in a time when, how does a business put its advertising dollars? Where does it put it? Advertising is not just paying, to have adverts in the paper or something like that. Advertising is, making your business visible. And this makes your business visible.
And putting your best foot forward.
Yeah, and personally, the money that I put into what I do for flowers in the summer pays me back in millions of times over with the reaction that I get from people who are visiting. I have people standing on the other side of the street just taking photographs of the place because they're just enjoying the look of the the store and so forth.
You also brought some photos of a lot of really nice
Yeah.
efforts
Yeah.
that are already going on
Yes.
in the community, and I don't know. I know that having you on the design committee, you have really kept our feet to the fire around this whole issue of civic pride,
Right.
and you've taken us to task on more than one occasion. not BBC, but collectively as a community, when we let our streets get messy, or we don't wash our windows in front of our places, don't take care of our flowers and have dead flowers in front of the door. And I'm sorry to say we're all guilty of some degree of that.
And me too. I
from
mean, it's
time
very
to
hard.
time.
It is
Yeah.
a challenge, and it's very time consuming to try and keep all those balls in the air.
And it's important
Yeah.
to go in the front door.
Exactly.
So you see how it looks to your customers,
Yes,
not just in and out the
Yeah.
back door
Yeah.
where you park.
Yeah.
But I know you wanted to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about some really.
I got a little camera happy last summer. I went out and took a lot of pictures. I took pictures of great looking places. I also might add that I have a collection of really bad looking places.
We've
So
used
don't
those
let
too.
your place, make sure this year that your place looks like some of these, because you might be on here otherwise. Showing the bad bits. Now, this may be out of the downtown district, but this is actually Waswick's Tires. They make a beautiful presentation with their flowers out there. It's a joy to go up there. And what a incongruous mix.
Yeah.
Tires
Yeah.
and flowers.
Yeah.
And yet it's just
Well,
great.
It just
Yeah.
goes to show that
It can be done,
that
yeah.
kind of service can be really spectacular as just as much as a great flower dress
We've
shop.
had people over the years come up and say, I understand you do Wasix boxes.
Yeah.
I want the same.
Yeah.
You know?
I was going to say,
So-
I just found out this morning that you've been doing these, you said, for 40 years.
Yeah.
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 You
Sometimes
plant them, but they take care of them, right?
They take
Yeah.
care. I
Yes.
plant them. I don't do the big tubs.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wasik does those. I do the window boxes,
And here's a picture
she
of the window
takes care
boxes.
of them.
Yeah.
She does a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
couldn't
they're
do that. Mine
beautiful.
would die. If I did that.
Whenever I see these, I always think of both England, but Switzerland even
Yes.
more so.
Yeah, with the window box
There is
situation.
no window, I don't think, in the little villages in Switzerland that doesn't have a window box. So you
Spain
see
is very much the
Yes.
same way
Yeah,
also.
just fabulous.
Yeah.
And here's Star Electric with their baskets
Yeah.
this year. This is your first year with
This
baskets.
is my
Hanging
first year
baskets.
with the hanging baskets,
Yeah.
and this winter we did greens,
Yeah.
and at Christmas time we put lights on them to coordinate with the Christmas
Yep.
decorations too. So we went from summer right into winter too.
And here's a picture of, I think it's, what's the name of the?
I don't know, what is it? Turn around.
I think we're running out of time, and I really want to show you these pictures. The hairdressers next to
Yes.
Melissa's, and I think
Oh,
they do their own.
Innovative images.
Yes, they do their own there. It's a nice picture. And here's the bookstore.
Yep, those are mine.
Those are Clover's, and he maintains them. And that's the key to this. Is
Good
planting them is only
And-
not even half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not going to commit to maintaining them, whether that's yourself or maybe a talented employee who loves flowers, or a professional maintenance
Care
schedule.
is all important.
Care is almost more important,
Yes.
right, than
Yeah.
planting them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know you had mentioned earlier cost. You can keep doing pictures if you want to, so you can get through them. But
This is a really great price.
we had. Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to do that.
Keep going. Keep going.
South Street Cafe, right? Yes. We have in the past spent about $8,000 on our downtown planting program to do what we're talking about now with the additional beds and to do the
Cinda,
hanging
maybe
baskets.
you could explain where that money comes from.
In the past, a good chunk of that $8,000 has come from the Downtown Improvement District funds. We are breaking the mold on that this year and going to be doing some private fundraising in addition to a small percentage of it coming from the Downtown Improvement District funds. We're looking at a total budget of about $15,000. About a third of it we expect will come from Downtown Improvement District funds.
Okay.
And then we're talking to a lot of clubs and organizations. We will also be talking to the town for a small piece of money.
Okay, the town of Bennington.
Yes, town of Bennington. But you might want to talk about the cost that goes in when you're doing the private sector piece too.
Yeah.
And we're sort of coming to
Okay.
an end here, so
It's just that I don't have the time in the summertime to deal with it. So Clover did my baskets this last year, and it was great. And that was one of the reasons I didn't do it in the past, is because I couldn't take care of it, and they always looked sad about 4 weeks in. So this has worked out really well, where I get to enjoy them, and he does all the work.
well, and that's what he
And
enjoys.
I enjoy the work. Yeah. I've always loved it. I've been at it since 1950. This is our 50th anniversary this year. 50th year.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And here's a picture actually of the post office, which did a wonderful job this year. I've really enjoyed going to the post office and seeing their perennial.
Every time you go, there's something new.
Yes.
It's great.
And they told me at the post office their other customers enjoy it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's the bank. And we might add to listeners that, we are open to donations to Bennington and Bloom.
Absolutely.
And if you care to help us financially in the journey that we're going to take, making downtown look really, really beautiful, please contact any of us.
Yes.
Give us a
P.O.
call.
Box 704.
Yeah, yes.
Bennington.
MasterCard, Visa, whatever you like. Also, I don't know how we're doing with, if we're going to have to wind up our little program here as well, but an issue we do have to deal with. Here's the beds outside Janellis's and Martin's.
Yes.
Always a challenge is the issue, and I don't know if you can see it very well here. This was taken last year when we were having the improvements.
The
vandalism issue. It's so sad when people have taken a lot of time and trouble, both, financially too.
Right.
That we have to put up with this sort of thing. People just arbitrarily coming and tearing the blooms off. So do encourage that any resident, local people who are downtown and see that,
let us
please
know.
let us know, or tell the person.
I'm glad you brought that up
doing
because
I'm going to have to interrupt you all.
Okay.
We're going to, and we could maybe do another whole show on vandalism issues downtown.
We could.
But not this time. I want to thank you all for being here. It's been really nice, and we're really excited about Bennington and Bloom and your roles in helping us get there. Thank you for being with us today on Spotlight on Downtown, and we'll see you next time.
Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.